The Sydney to Hobart is one of the most iconic races in the sport.
It's more than a race. You know, I've likened it to a climbing Everest experience.
Gives you an enormous satisfaction.
Only Sydney Hobart sailors can explain what Boxing Day is all about.
Toughest race you can do in the world.
Tacking around, boys, and bearing away.
Where's the boy? Where's the starting boy?
There's nothing else in the world quite like the start of the Sydney Hobart race.
Helicopters are going, people are excited.
I don't think there's any other sport in the world that comes even close to the number of live viewership you got.
When the gun goes, it's a real frenzy. Everyone's hands-on and
Adrenaline, there's excitement, there's yelling of everyone at the start.
Exit gear! Exit gear! Exit! All shapes and sizes of boats. It really is a crazy time.
It is just about survival.
It's not like any other yacht race.
When you know you're living in a dangerous situation, that's when you also know that you're really alive.
When you arrive at Tasman Island, this magnificent rock appears and you can just picture Poseidon standing up, you know, and grabbing hold of your little ship and throwing it.
An experience that only Australians can put together.
Sydney Harbour on Boxing Day. There really is nothing like it. It is an Australian tradition. The world's most beautiful start line for one of the world's most challenging races. 88 yachts, almost 1,100 sailors, every one of them nervously waiting for the cannon to fire and send them off to Hobart, 628 nautical miles away. Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Mark Beretta. Thanks for joining us for Seven's coverage of the 72nd start of the Sydney Hobart. This is an incredibly diverse race. The old, the new, the carbon fibre, the wooden hulls, boats from 9 metres to 30 metres, crews that range in age from 18 to 80. Sailors coming back for their 30th, their 40th, one man this year even doing his 51st Sydney Hobart. Well, Peter Shipway, you did 31 of them. It is an incredible race. What keeps people coming back?
Well, I think it's the whether a sailor's old or young, they want to do this race because it's one of the truly great and toughest ocean races in the world. And I think that the farewell that the boats and crews get today on Sydney Harbour is unique. There's nothing like it anywhere. And the crews will see the boats, the spectator boats, and the people around the foreshore. It's just wonderful.
Now, shippers, the last 24 hours, there's been so much talk about a race record. The weather conditions do look right.
They do. I think certainly get down to Tasmania and across Storm Bay, we're on record pace. Every year we hear that, but this time I think it is fair dinkum. And the Derwent River could play tricks. That could really hold the key to whether Wild Oats' record of 1 day and 18 hours is broken. But at the moment, it looks highly likely. And of course, we're in for a great start here behind us on Sydney Harbour. This is how the start will set up. Pete, just talk us through it. Yes, 3 separate parallel starting lines to cater for the large 88-boat fleet. They'll go to different turning marks at the heads to equalise the distance between the different lines. Then down the coast, which they're going to have a terrific run this afternoon in this freshening northeaster, down across Bass Strait, then down the east coast of Tasmania, which will play its usual tricks, to Tasman Island, the entrance to Storm Bay, then 40 miles to the finish, to the Iron Pot in the Derwent River, and then the finish in Battery Point in Hobart.
All right, let's take a look at that all-important weather because a lot has been said about it over the last 24 hours. It is the perfect day on Sydney Harbour. There is the slight chance of some afternoon showers. It looks unlikely at the moment, but the swell, 1.5 to 2 metres. The winds, as Peter said, northeasterly. It is going to be very, very interesting. And tomorrow's forecast, slight chance of afternoon showers once again, and that wind persisting, the swell about the same. And here you get some idea of the size of the crowd. Of course, it's impossible to ever measure exactly how many people come out here, but the best estimates we have are somewhere between 600,000 and 1 million people come out all around Sydney Harbour and further down the coast to watch this incredible start. Don't forget, if you've got to move today, you can keep up to date with what's happening on the +7 app on your phone. You can watch live on the +7 app wherever you are. It is a spectacular day. And this yacht, Peter, has been so much the focus in the lead up of this race. Wild Oats 11.
Yes, I think you'd have to say she's the clear favourite for line honours. and the conditions will certainly suit her this afternoon. The forecast is for a freshening northeasterly sea breeze. At the moment, it's already about 12 to 15 knots on the harbour. It's been building all day. It's just a marvellous Sydney day, a summer day that's perfect for the spectators and the yachtsmen alike. And the forecast is good. I mean, for the entire race, there's no real gear-busting southerlies like we saw last year. This afternoon, we'll give them a really fast slide down the New South Wales coast. There's a tricky little part later tonight and early tomorrow morning with a southerly forecast for around Gabo Island, but it'll be very light, 10 to 15 knots. And the weather modelling is saying that if you stand well offshore, you might not even see the southerly. You might get into a light east southeaster, and then the nor'easter will break out again. So this is record pace for the big boats.
Well, here's Scallywag. This is probably the hottest contender, or certainly one of the top four of the Super Maxis here. Scallywag, captained by David Witt. David is doing his 22nd Sydney Hobart, and just a few moments ago, he got the crew together and gave them a little bit of a rev up about this race.
35 years ago, a 10-year-old came out in a ski boat to watch the race, right? And he convinced his old man he should drive all the way back to Port Acking instead of taking a boat out at Rays Bay. And since then, the 10-year-old's been become passionate about the race and now become obsessed by the race, all right? After this 10-year-old's done 15 Hobarts, he has an opportunity to sail on that boat with the red shirts, and he can sail on these other boats, and he decides that if he's going to finally win the race, the last thing he wants to do is just get on a boat to win the race. He wants to win the race the way he's tried to build a team to win the race, and with the people and the mates he's met through the journey, okay? I can guarantee you I will do everything in my absolute power to make sure we win this race. So please, everybody, just get on board and be on the same page, okay? Let's go.
One team on Scallywag. That was the rev up by skipper David Witt. Very experienced, very popular and well-known face in the ocean sailing business.
Yes, indeed, and also in skiff sailing. He's a very top 18-foot skiff sailor on Sydney Harbour. This, of course, is the former Ragamuffin 100 that finished second on line honours last year behind Comanche. She was a fair way adrift of Comanche, but nonetheless she got there, whereas this boat here that we're looking at now, Perpetual Loyal, didn't make it, neither did Wild Oats. So she will be the boat that I think will give Wild Oats the biggest run for its money for line honours.
Slightly different approach by Anthony Bell on Perpetual Loyal this year. He's always taken celebrities on board with him, and they've had a big fundraising drive. This year, they've really attacked this race, an experienced crew only this time around.
Indeed, I think he's been remarkably disappointed. The last two times to Hobart, they haven't made it. The hull is delaminated and they've come back, and it's very disappointing to retire from any race, let alone the Hobart race. So this year he was out to make amends. They've really done a lot of work on the hull to reinforce it, to make sure it's strong enough. The conditions probably not favouring Loyal all that much. The light running conditions will not suit her. She wants to go upwind, which they won't get much of in this race. But here is a very interesting boat.
Yeah, now this is Luda Ingvald's CQS, formerly Nicorette. You might remember it from years gone by, but it's not Nicorette anymore. It is turbocharged. It is probably the most radical design, Pete, I'd say, certainly we've seen in this year's race, possibly ever in a Sydney Hobart.
I think that's right. I mean, look at there's got wings at the top and wings below. The wings at the top are like outriggers to spread the shroud base to get that further outboard to lessen the compression in the mast, and the orange wing you see down below is to provide lift for the boat as it's going downwind. So we might see this afternoon how good or bad this is, but at the moment it's very different, very unusual, and it's untested.
Yeah, Luda's pretty honest about this. I was lucky enough to get a run on it during the week, and he said, you know, the aim is just to get there. Number one, if we get there, we'll be happy. If we can happen to knock off one of the other four Super Maxis, that'd be just fantastic. But they know it's a work in progress. It's the experiment that's underway. So good luck to Luda, and good to see him back in the race as well.
Indeed, and here's Balance. She's the defending champion. Paul Clitheroe's boat from New South Wales won the race on corrected time last year. And it's the second time the boat has won. It won as Quest in 2008 and last year as Balance. A very, very good chance to go back-to-back, but it's hard to do. It's only ever been done twice in the history of the race. The Halversons did it with Freya, and way back in 1947-48, Westwood from Tasmania won it back-to-back.
Yeah, Paul Clitheroe, he did promise his wife that he wouldn't do it this year, the race, but he had to come back and defend. Here's Beau Jest. Beautiful boat, this one, and on board, one of our favourite cooks, Donna Hay, is looking after the crew.
Well, she's very fortunate because she's got a very good forecast to go in her first Hobart race. Very big chance of handicap honours, Beaujest, skippered by Gavin Brady, top New Zealand sailor. But Carl Kwok, who owns the boat, has handed over to Aaron Rowe in his first Hobart race as the nominated skipper. A lot of top New Zealand sailors on board this boat, and the conditions look good for her. I think she'll be there or thereabouts when the handicap prize is announced.
Donna Hay's been busy. She's made plenty of treats and special high-energy muffins for the crew on the way down. Pete, what do you tell someone who's doing their first race? What sort of advice do you give them, or do you just tell them nothing?
Hang on.
Here's a look at Chinese Whisper.
Yeah, another boat that's going to go very well. Owned by Rupert Henry. She did her first Hobart last year, designed by Judel Vrolic. Very good handicap chance. It'll favour these bigger boats, I think, the weather, the way it's stacking up. I think it's going to be hard for the littler boats, say under 50 feet, to figure in the handicap placings because it's going to go light down the Tassie coast. But Chinese Whisper, very, very good crew, navigated by Carl Crawford. He's won the Hobart race 4 times, and Stu Bannatyne, top New Zealand sailor, is on board as sailing master.
Now, we mentioned a mate of yours, Tony Cable, a milestone race for him this year on Duende.
Yes, an extraordinary story, really. 51 Hobart races he's done, and he did his first back in 1961 aboard a little boat called Tarni. They only got to South Head. They broke some gear, and he was back at the CYC having a cold drink before he knew it. But it's 51 races later, here he is on Duende, Damien Parks' 52-footer. And knowing Tony, he's a real character. He was one of the guys that inaugurated the infamous or famous quiet little drink in Hobart Town, and he certainly enjoys a cold cascade when he gets to Hobart.
All right, there it is, and you won't miss that colour in this race too, Pete. All right, we're going to take a break. We're not far away from getting this incredible race underway. Stay with us right here on 7.
feet again. Oh, this is just ridiculous.
Oh, you're kidding, eh?
What a shot. Come on, man. Get out of town with that. Absolutely stunning tennis.
Fast Forward Tennis is coming your way. It is the Australian invented game. It is awesome. The 2020 equivalent for tennis. Absolutely a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Coming up on 7. Now here's our view right around Sydney Harbour at the moment, and it is all happening. We are within 15 minutes of the start. We are 5 minutes away from the 10-second cannon, and they're already, Peter Shipway, there is a jostling for positions here in the harbour.
Yes, it's probably just a little early to engage the other boats at this stage, but of course we've got 3 different starting lines to spread the fleet out. We've got 13 boats on the front starting line, so this is where all the big boats will start, so they've got plenty of runway to manoeuvre. There's 36 on the second starting line, and the third starting line there's 39 boats, so these big boats, they'll have plenty of room, although it's still keeping an eye out. They've got to be very careful not to run in, obviously, to other boats, and there's a lot of traffic, both spectators and competitors alike.
Mark Richards just off to the left there, skipper of Wild Oats. The one thing that always gets you, Pete, about Wild Oats is you go back on this boat year after year and the crew faces never change. They're the same team. This is on board Scallywag with David Witt, the voice of you're hearing there, skipper.
So the first boat that can get onto port and get going up the harbour is going to have a bit of an advantage. The problem is the start's there and the spectator fleet's right there. So what you can do is you can call water and tack, and the boats on starboard have to tack. But the minute you've sailed for more than 15, 20 seconds, you've got to tack back.
So David just explaining to the owner there exactly how they're going to set up the manoeuvre for the start. He's just saying you cannot go too far into the spectator craft, which is not allowed under the race rules. You've got to tack very quickly, get onto port tack and get across to the eastern shore. The tide today it's a low tide at 1:51 p.m, so there'll just be a little bit of ebb flowing out, just the last hour of it, so it won't be that significant at the starting line, but if anything it'll be pushing the boats a little bit over. But it's a classical sea breeze, a northeasterly sea breeze. It's expected to get up this afternoon to about 25 to 30 knots, so they will be rocketing down the New South Wales coast. It'll be a pretty wild ride there at times, I think, before it's due to soften off around midnight.
That owner of Scallywag, by the way, is Sang Huang Lee, a 41-year-old Malaysian businessman who also owns Hayman Island. So it is a battle of the islands at the pointy end. Hamilton Island, of course, part of the Oatley Group.
Hey, guys.
And that's a lovely shot. Mark Richards there just taking the boat past what was formerly Bob Oatley's Palm Beach cruiser, and Val Oatley on board there just to show them the boat and say good day.
Yes, they're starting to be lining up now and thinking about their strategy at the start. They've probably already worked it out. I think the big boats, certainly Wild Oats, will be on the western shore to start with, so they can punch out across the fleet on port tack. So David Witt on Scallywag and Mark Richards, 2 highly experienced skippers, and I don't think they'll take any prisoners here, so we could really see a terrific fight between these 2 boats. There's Dave Witt there.
And don't we love it? That's exactly what we love about this start. David Witt, you can just sense the tension at the moment. Things are building up. We're inside a minute from the 10-minute gun.
Just look at that coming at you, Halesy.
The 10-minute gun will be fired today by 2 guys who were meant to fire the starting gun last year, and if you remember, the starting boat sank on the way out to the finish, the starting line, so they had to hurriedly get a replacement boat. And Norm Hyatt and Colin Betts, who were due to fire the gun last year because it was 50 years since they were both aboard Freya when she won the Hobart race all those years ago, have got a reprieve, and they're now firing the 10-minute gun. 2 of Australia's most respected ocean racing yachtsmen. Colin had won the race 3 times. He was on Freya, he was on Dennis O'Neill's Coomaloo in '68 and Sovereign again in 1987. And Norm Hyatt was aboard American Eagle in '72.
There it is, officially 10 minutes to go.
So they made it this time. There's Norm and Colin congratulating each other. The boat didn't sink, and we're underway.
It's a good sign. Just an amazing view, isn't it? What a fleet this year. 88 yachts. There are 11 internationals. 2 Chinese entries this year. We had one last year. There are 2 from China this year. And in that fleet, 7 past overall winners. So quite remarkable.
Now there, number 45 is Fidelis. She won line honours 50 years ago in the 1966 race when she was skippered by Jim Davin from New Zealand, becoming the first New Zealand boat to win line honours and the first of many boats from New Zealand that went on subsequently to take line honours. And her record of the winning margin is over 17 hours, still stands as the second greatest winning margin in the history of the race. She beat Bob Crichton Brown's Balandra home by just over 17 hours. Lovingly restored by Nigel Stokes. She's in magnificent condition, and these conditions today, running and reaching, will suit her. She's long and narrow, as you can see, and she'll do well today.
There's Perpetual Loyal and Wild Oats 11 just having a mini drag race. Yes. A bit of chesting before the start.
On board Perpetual Loyal, Tom Slingsby, our Olympic winning gold medalist from the 2012 London Games. He won the laser class there. He'll be in the back with Anthony Bell. Tom Addis is the navigator. They're very good crew, and she will enjoy the flat water going out the harbour. And if you remember last year, she led going out the harbour. She led both Wild Oats and Comanche and Ragamuffin, which is now Scallywag. There's Juan Vila, the navigator aboard Wild Oats, round the world navigator, a real veteran, and no doubt an exceptionally good navigator. Steve Jarvin sitting down next to Chris Harmson. They work the main sheet. Chris drives the main sheet. Steve Jarvin looks after all the controls that control the main sheet. Now here we go. Still with 7 minutes 50 to go. They're starting to engage themselves, so it's going to be a long countdown.
Steve Jarvin doing his 29th Sydney Hobart this year too. He's got some new hydraulics to work from his position there on the boat.
Yeah, very complicated to get this mainsail set up properly. He's got a lot of controlling to do, but he'll work in tandem with Chris Harmson, and he'll get yelled at by Rico.
So we're looking back at Loyal. And now you can just feel all the crew members on all of these yachts have come to their toes now.
They've really just got to go back and forward across the harbour, say from Nielsen Park to Chowder Bay. They cannot go back into the other starting line. So where they've got a bit of runway across the harbour, they haven't got much runway up and down the harbour because they're requested not to go back into the second or third starting lines, just to try and give a clearer run as possible.
It is amazing. It is the most full day this harbour has each year. And there's Maluka of Kamadi, Sean Langman. Very well known to us. He's been around many years, sailed on the Super Maxis, has gone back to this beautiful boat. And great story about this boat that Sean told us during the week. It actually first did the Sydney Hobart run 10 years before the race began.
Smallest boat in the race, 84 years young. And Sean, not Sean, the boat. Terrific seaman, Sean. He's got his son on board, and it'll be a long trip, but they'll make it. And who knows, if it's a little boat race and they get blown home, he could well figure in the handicap calculations because he's got the best handicap or the lowest handicap rating in the whole fleet.
Yeah, Sean there on the rudder, you can just see the big smile on his face before as well. Now this is CQS, Luda Ingvall and his crew. We talk about Olympic gold medalists here. We've got Joe Ella on board here, New Zealand Olympic gold medalist, a gold medalist from London in the 470s and a silver from Rio. She joins this crew this year.
Also Chris Dixon on board, well-known New Zealand yachtsman who starred in many America's Cup events for New Zealand and also around the world races, making a bit of a comeback to ocean racing. Rodney Keenan, another well-known New Zealander aboard CQS. It'll be very interesting to see how she goes. But there's Dave Witt in the foreground, Campbell Knox behind him, just trimming, working the runners, and we're 5 minutes, almost 5 minute gun coming up to be fired by retired Rear Admiral Chris Oxenbould. Chris did the race 50 years ago aboard the naval sloop Franklin, and he's been a great contributor to safety for the Sydney Hobart race.
So there we are inside 5 minutes to the start of the 72nd Sydney Hobart race. And this is it. This is, I've got to say, Pete, one of the most exciting parts of this race is the jostling that goes on from here on in, trying to find that right place that will give you the edge to be first out the heads.
Yes, it's fantastic. In the overall context of the race, it doesn't mean that much, but it's a psychological advantage to be first out the heads. I mean, it's just a nice feeling for the boys, but the priority is to get out clean. No doubt about that. I mean, if you're second or third or fourth or last, doesn't really matter as long as you're out clean, because there's so much traffic.
Can you send one of your text messages to Mark Richards in 5 minutes and tell him that it's not that important to be at first out the heads? He takes this so seriously, doesn't he? It is on this. You're exactly right what you say, but there's so much pride, Pete, isn't there, in being first out?
It's a wonderful thrill, and they'll be still striving to do it, of course, but...
have a bit of a sniff.
Oh, and these guys can't stop racing. This is what they do. Listening to Mark Richards from here, because he will set this up perfectly.
There's a lot of left in this breeze, meaning that it's probably northeast and not...
Go slow here, slow. Go slow.
A real true nor'easter. So that means the left-hand side or the western side of the harbour, will be favoured. High tension now aboard all these yachts.
Trim up, come on, best trim. Trim up.
3.5 minutes.
Trim up.
See Chris Harmson there on the main sheet, just looking up. Formerly of Tasmania. Great yachtsman.
Trim up, trim up, trim up, trim up, trim up. Trim up, trim up, trim up.
204 Sydney Hobart's experience on board Wild Oats 11.
310. Stand by to attack. Stand by to attack. Yeah. Shh, don't yell. Big tack. Tacking over. Get a bit of board down. Board down. Get the board down.
Here, Rico, he said, don't yell. I think with about a minute to go, he might have not remembered what he said. Here they go. They're coming back now to dip behind the line. There's Perpetual Loyal running downwind, both on port tack. Here comes...
Ease to me, ease to me. Ease.
Mark Richards is just calling for the sails to be eased so he can drive downwind to get below the line. 2 minutes 15 to go. So they're going to engage with Loyal by the look of it. They both want this left hand or pin end.
Stand by to jibe. How long? How long? No driving. Driving, here we go.
2 minutes.
Watch out, big fella, cannot see. Ease, Harmo, ease. Ease. How long? Go. Come up.
As you can see, the two yellow boys, one in the bottom of the screen and one right up the top. That's the starting line. So they've just got to be behind that. And if they are over, they are not recalled until 5 minutes after the start. So it's a big penalty to pay if you are over.
Different strategies too, with a minute and a half to go. CQS just easing up, Scallywag back a little bit. Oates and Loyal back a little bit further. Here comes Oates.
115. Ball's going behind you. 110.
He's main, he's main.
105.
Okay, Wild Oats has got the pin. There's no doubt about that.
Coming up here, coming up.
There's Maserati coming behind him, but Wild Oats will have the leeward pin where he wants. He'll drive into the spectator fleet, call water, then hopefully cross the fleet on port tack. Scallywag putting bow down now to try and engage with Wild Oats. I think he's a bit late.
45 seconds.
CQS right in the middle of the line, absolutely stopped. He's got his keel canted to windward so he can stop the boat.
Go. Rain on. Hold on.
Okay, here's Scallywag and Loyal very close together.
Go. Hold.
Inside 30 seconds now for the start.
How long? Hold. Easy. Quickly.
CQS looks close to being over.
Jib on. Go, Jib. Go. Main on. Go.
There they go. They're away in the 2016 Sydney, Hobart, 88 yachts, 1,100 sailors, all racing to Hobart in this iconic test of skill, endurance and courage.
Veteran Sid Fisher fired the starting gun. The pedal is down, and I think Loyal and Scallywag will have Wild Oats pinned down there. I don't think Wild Oats can cross them. Here they go. They've called water. Here comes Wild Oats on port. She does not have right away. She's going to have to dip. She's going to dip.
Smoke it, Hummo. Smoke it, smoke it, smoke it, smoke it, smoke it. Ease. Go now, go now. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Trim on, trim on, trim on. I've got it. Trim on. Trim main, trim main. Trim the main, Hummo. Trim the main. Watch out, can't see. Let's go, trim on. Get the ball down, get down. Trim on, Hummo. Go. 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 Watch out, Josh. I can't fucking see, mate. Trim on. He's the main. Let's go. Main on. Let's go. Main on. Good work, guys. Let's go. Main on. Go, big fella. It's nowhere near as fast as he said it was. That was a terrible start, mate.
Well, you heard Mark Richards say it, a terrible start. There wasn't as much left in the wind as they thought. He got pinned down there, and Scallywag and Perpetual Loyal forced him behind them, screaming for the main sheet off so he could pull away behind the boats. He was on port tack. He had no rights at all. So Scallywag and Perpetual Loyal have won the early battle to be first out the heads. Scallywag did marvellously well there. She locked Loyal out.
Copy, Western Channel.
So you can see they've jumped away from Wild Oats, and Wild Oats is coming back on starboard tacks, but a whole group of boats have beaten her to the punch here, Wild Oats. She's well back.
Lucy, hike it out. 15 seconds. We need all the stability, boys.
Fantastic action.
We need to hike hard.
Now, what Dave Witt's saying, there's no water. They don't have water ballast in the boat to give it stability. They'll probably do that once they're outside the heads. And you can see her leaning over more than Perpetual Loyal.
10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, guys, we're going. Checking.
Well, there's CQS. She's got a bit on. She's almost capsizing. I mean, this is this radical boat, and no one really knew what was going to happen to her. And it looks as though she's in all sorts of trouble as the Yokomo just goes behind Wild Oats, who's just at the Western Channel pile light. So she's got a very disappointing start, Wild Oats, most unlike Mark Richards. He's normally the guru at starting in this Sydney Hobart race, but he's well behind at the moment, and it's left to Scallywag and Perpetual Loyal. You heard Dave Witt counting down to the tack. That means to give everyone time. They know what they're doing, and then he tacked the boat. But here's CQS in all sorts of trouble.
There's the moment for CQS. Look how close they got, boy. Now that's as close as we've seen at a start to a capsize, Pete.
Well, I think what happened was there was a boat there on starboard tack. CQS was on port, didn't have right away, had to throw in a very quick tack, and she got all chicken winged up, and she's starting to get rolling now. But you can see that outrigger that supports the shrouds. That's hitting the water even at this relatively low wind speed. But we've got to settle down now. I mean, Mark Richards, he really
all the way, yep.
Got things a little bit wrong there.
Okay? Get on the peak.
Now that's Dave Witt. He can't see the leeward boundary line. He cannot go into the spectator fleet, but Perpetual Loyal is in front. She's on starboard tack. She has all the rights when Scallywag tacks.
10 seconds
unless
is
Witty's going to call a tack.
Twist.
He may call water on Perpetual Loyal. There goes Scallywag. No, Perpetual Loyal well ahead. He's tacking on the lee bow of Scallywag. He can hold himself up there and squeeze Scallywag out. So Scallywag needs to hold his height. It's not an easy thing to do, but a terrific job by Anthony Bell and his team aboard.
Come on, Marky. Main on, high mode. Main on, Tommy.
It's another good story this year for Loyal. They are leading them out the heads once again. They did it last year. They're on course to do it again in 2016.
He's in a controlling position there. He can just squeeze up on Scallywag and really get him disturbed there.
Work on the boat speed. We've got to do over 10s.
He can't put the bow down because he'll really get into the foul air of Perpetual Loyal. Loyal really can just hold up and squeeze him out.
Just struck, you know. Still slightly here. Just not getting the speed. Not getting the speed, guys. Can we get the runner up? Get the runner up.
See Perpetual Loyal squeezing up on the bow of Scallywag here. He's in a really lovely controlling position as they head for the inshore mark Victor, which is their first turning mark before they head to sea to the offshore mark Zulu. It's going to be Perpetual Loyal who'll win the bragging rights for first out the heads. Wild Oats just coming back into the picture slightly now, but she's still behind. She's going to tack on the lee bow of these, or to leeward of these two Volvo 70s. Away she goes. And that's Bo Jest there, who will be third out.
Great start by Bo Jest.
Yeah, very well sailed.
Let's go, guys. Let's get it going here.
Mark Richards will be looking for more speed now. He will not like being behind Perpetual Loyal and Scallywag.
Okay, within 45 seconds, guys.
See the northeasterly breeze freshening now, so it's up probably 15 to 18 knots and going to be building to 20 to 25 pretty soon. If they get down the coast in about 15 to 20 minutes or so, it'll be a good steady 20 knots. There's Scallywag having to tack over.
Just over 7 minutes into this race, and one of the most exciting starts we've seen. It's had everything. The Perpetual Loyal leads from Scallywag, Wild Oats 11 and Bo Jest.
Blackjack's right in the mix too, another Volvo 70. Peter Harburg's charge from Queensland. So Scallywag's standing away now on starboard tack. She'll come back and engage Loyal, but Loyal has really done a number on these boats. She likes the flat water. She's a big, heavy boat. And she's got a lot of stability, so it's suiting her, this flat water, high breeze area. Won't suit her that much when they get running conditions, but nonetheless, she's done a terrific job down the harbour.
One of the great sights as they head out through Sydney Heads. Huge spectator fleet, and right around the shore of Sydney Harbour and beyond, huge numbers out watching this annual spectacle.
Probably stand on for another couple of 100 metres before tacking for their turning mark.
Get it going fast here.
See, Rico still not up to speed on Wild Oats. It's Bo Jest is still ahead of him. Just trying to get the trim right between the balance between the main sheet and the headsail, the main sheet traveller. It's a big combination to get things right, to get the feel of the boat okay. And here's Loyal. Sorry, it's Scallywag has tacked for the turning mark. Loyal has tacked right on the air of Scallywag to throw her some dirty air, but she's just cracked the sheets now. She's easily laying this turning mark, so she's going to have a very nice advantage here. See the twin rudders, the windward rudder coming out of the water. There's the turning mark. An easy lay for Perpetual Loyal. It'll be a reasonably tight lay for Scallywag. Wild Oats will probably go up to Scallywag's line and perhaps a little bit further, half a boat length further to tack. There he goes.
Hey, Tomo, waves to me.
What a sight that is. Absolutely gorgeous summer's day on Sydney Harbour, and a big smile for Anthony Bell and his team.
Yeah, they'll be just quietly giving themselves a pat on the back as they are first out the heads once again, back-to-back, 2015, 2016, and you look down towards Bondi and beyond, and that's where they're heading.
Crew have worked very hard to get this boat back into shape for this year's race, headed by Joe Akasic. He's been the project manager in putting this all back together. They've got many of the crew from last year's Line Honours winner Comanche on board. As I mentioned, Tom Slingsby on board. Young John Winning, an 18-foot skiff sailor of note. He's on board as well, supplying local knowledge down the harbour, I would have think. And he's done a fantastic job. You can see Scallywag going to be next around. He's well eased. Although it's and Wild Oats hasn't done all that well. Although listed as Beau Jest, she slipped into the mix. She went down the eastern side of the harbour. While the Maxis were fighting it out tooth and nail, she slipped into second position. So this is a terrific job done by Beau Jest.
So Beau Jest second out the heads.
Main on.
I think Donna Hay will be rewarding everyone on Beau Jest with an extra salted cookie.
Not at the moment. They've got their hands full until they get out to the Seamark Zulu, where the spinnakers will be set. There goes Wild Oats around.
Ease, main on, get the main on, let's go. Go, go.
As you can see Scallywag, she's really well heeled there. They've got no border ballast in, and she needs that ballast to give her stability in these reaching conditions. She won't need it that much once they set the spinnakers, but close reaching like this, she's
Jib on.
She's well heeled.
Jib on, get the board up. No, leave the board. Let's go.
So what did Mark Richards say? No screaming before, didn't he? So
it didn't last long.
We'll remind him of that. But she'd be good now, Wild Oats. She's starting to reach pretty hard now.
Yeah.
But Perpetual Loyal's opened up a nice lead here. And let's hope they can get the spinnakers set properly this time. Last year they had all sorts of trouble trying to unfurl their spinnakers. But I would think they've really assessed their problems from previous years, and you can see a bit of water cascading over the decks there on Loyal.
Yes, and just to give you an idea, it's about a 2-metre swell just outside the heads there at the moment.
Big gas, please.
Marcus Ashley Jones in the foreground there, just getting things rigged for the spinnaker.
The top measure there is the speed for Wild Oats 11. It's 18 knots at the moment and climbing, so this is what they do well. They'll get outside the heads and they'll accelerate.
Hold the sail, hold. Just tough it out for a minute. Main on. Having a good gain here, just got to hold. Here's the furling line. Main on. Let's go. Main on. Board up a little.
1 minute, we've got a hoist.
Yep. Let's go. Main on. Hold that. He's main little. Jib on, come on. He's the main. It's good. Main on.
There we are, back with Perpetual Loyal, our leader, first out the heads, back to back. And now they are setting course for Hobart. Final marker of the start for them, and they've led everyone out there, Pete, very comfortably.
A bit slower there, spinnaker set there, Loyal. She's around the mark and they haven't got it up yet. And also Wild Oats struggling to get their asymmetrical spinnaker up on the lock. They get it on a halyard lock at the top of the mast and really get it super tight so they can unfurl it.
Main on. He's a jib. We shouldn't have done that, guys? That was bullshit. That's crazy stuff.
Oh no, don't tell me Loyal's got the problems of last year. You can see this asymmetrical spinnaker trying to unfurl. They've got it on rollers, and you pull the sheet and it should unfurl in one position, but it looks as though it's starting to unfurl in two positions. Well, here's some...
Deploy, guys, come on. Get the sheet up, Josh. Let's go.
Okay, he's calling to Josh Whittaker to unfurl it, to deploy the spinnaker. There they go. Terrific from Wild Oats. She's got herself right back into the picture here. They've unfurled. It's still to unfurl at the top. Scallywag's got a problem. They've...
Yeah, I've got it.
Look at her go now, Oates.
Come on. Sheet on. He's a jib. We got to shoot? Okay, let's go, guys.
Loyal's still got problems here.
Yeah, they'll get there, I think. That it's just a little bit at the top still to unfurl, but Scallywags seem to have problems as well, but she still hasn't got a spinnaker set, but it's Wild Oats that has done the best job of getting the spinnaker set, and she's on her way after Loyal. Scallywag is refurling. Here she goes now.
Deploy! No sheet, Marky. No, it's now furling up again.
No, they've got a problem, Scallywag.
No! Furl it up again!
So Dave Witz...
Marky, no sheet!
Gee, the frustration in David Witt's voice.
Yes, we may hear some colourful language shortly, because it was never right from the beginning. They've furled it up once before. Now this is the second time to try and get a better furl to unfurl it. It might not quite make sense, but that's what they've got to do. They've got to really get a tight furl so that it will unfurl. But here's Loyal. She's got everything set now. No disappointments of last year when they couldn't unfurl, and she is now a clear leader in the 2016 Sydney to Hobart race.
Nitro is coming to 7. What's Nitro? It's athletics, but not as you know.
Bolt takes the lead. He flies away.
This is a game changer.
Usain's going to do it. He's a genius.
The strongest, the fastest in the world will be.
The greatest. It's incredible how happy we are.
Only on 7.
So here's the view outside Sydney Heads now as the fleet begins to head south, and that is Perpetual Loyal, which led them out of the Heads of Sydney, and now Wild Oats 11, which did not have the ideal start, is making up ground, and this is going to be a great battle of the heavyweights as they head south, heading towards Bondi Beach at the moment. So for people who are out in that part looking down or looking north at the moment, you'll see them very soon, and they'll make their way down towards Wollongong in the later part of this afternoon. But it was a wild, wild start. We saw plenty of action. Scallywag still got its hands full at the moment, but there you see a great view of Wild Oats 11. Scallywag here, battling with a bit of sail drama, Pete.
Yeah, she didn't get the spinnaker unfurled, and they had to refurl it and unfurl it again, and she's just finally getting underway, and she's lost a lot of ground as we watch some of the smaller to middle-sized boats at the turning mark at Sydney Heads.
And this is where the race for overall is likely to be decided amongst a lot of these boats that you're seeing now. Some of the real diehards of this race, many here who've done this race a number of times, many on board too who are doing their first Sydney Hobart as well. It is a really mixed fleet from 18 years of age to almost 80 years of age. A great bunch here. And they will battle it out for the overall title, the Tattersalls Cup.
Beautiful conditions as they slide around the inner mark to go out to sea, and they will, I think the weather will favour the bigger or the middle-sized boats, not the smaller boats, unfortunately, for handicap positions, the way it's stacking up at the moment.
So 88 yachts in the fleet this year. That's about 1,100 sailors out there on the water, and all making their way out of Sydney Heads now in about a 2-metre swell, but beautiful conditions.
Yeah, this is Ark. She's representing China. They had the misfortune last year to be damaged at the start. Just after the start, didn't make it, but she's back this year, and obviously hopeful of getting to Hobart in one piece.
Yeah, one of the 2 Chinese entries this year. We've got 11 internationals in the field this year, and a growing number from China, which is great news. Is Tony Cable.
Here he comes. Duende. Damien Parks' charge, just laying through from the sea mark, and the inner mark. They go out to an outer mark before they actually turn south and put the spinnakers up.
It looks like it's been painted pretty recently too.
Yes, a quick story here. She was spray painted just a week before the race, but they spray painted her from a dinghy. It might look good from here, but when you get close up, I can tell you it's not the greatest paint job I've ever seen. But nonetheless, there's Tony down the back, the big white hat on. 51st time he's headed out the Heads and bound for Hobart.
Isn't that incredible? He's got plenty more left in him too.
But that was a spectacular start when Wild Oats had to duck behind all those boats and to clear his way through the mess of boats that were coming at him on starboard tack. He did a pretty good job in the end, Mark Richards. It was high-octane stuff. He had to get that main sheet off so he could dip behind boats, and he did it, and he threaded the needle and got out without too much drama.
Just a reminder too of the pressure that's on at the start, you know, and you mentioned, Peter, that in the biggest scheme of the race, 628 nautical miles, the start is not that crucial, but it becomes so important to the crews on board because that's their nature. They race. This is what they do. This is what these guys do in the middle of the fleet as well. You know, it's tight in there at the moment. Everyone's racing someone they know next to them or beside them or ahead of them. In most cases, yachts that they've been racing all year, so there's a lot at stake right from the start. But safety is the #1 priority.
Yes, to get out without any damage to boat or crew. So we see some of the smaller boats still coming upwind to the turning mark. Now these are the sort of the 42 footers and smaller that are just finding the going a little bit tough because they've got to thread their way through a lot of dirty air from the boats that started in front of them, and it takes a while for the air to settle down, although in this freshening breeze it doesn't take that long, but nonetheless they've got to come from the third starting line back and then punch their way through up until the turning marks here at Sydney Heads.
Big number of father and sons and fathers and daughters all racing the Sydney Hobart this year. And a great increase too in the number of female sailors in the race this year. 74 all up, and we've got 2 female owner skippers. Of course, our crew are busy too. This is our cameraman, this is Mel McPherson, about to launch off the back of Scallywag. This is how we get those shots to you. We put our crew on, but they can't go all the way, so we've got to get them off. Here goes Mel. And that boat's gone very quickly too, Pete.
It just shows, that you wouldn't really want to fall overboard because they'd be so far gone to come back and get you. It'd be almost impossible, especially if it happens in the middle of the night. Or here's the chase boat alongside Mel, and she'll be aboard shortly.
And make no mistake, she loves doing this every year. They'll hook her up, the support boat is there, they'll put her in, grab the gear as well, and bring her back for next year's race. And just to give you an idea now, as we come back, that Mel's been out in the water less than a minute, and that's how far the boat's gone in that time. They are flying down the coast. And as you say, Pete, if you go overboard at this time. Here's our second camera on Wild Oats. That's Tim Nurmi. Tim's off with all his gear. Signals to his pickup boat, and he'll be in the boat as well. Tim and Mel both do this every year. They're specialists at what they do, and they bring you those incredible shots on board and the sound of the skippers. And they love doing what they do. It's an incredible adventure. Well, that's the way they see it. I don't know if it's for everyone, Pete.
No, it's fantastic shots that they give us. And here we go as Loyal steams down the coast, just in the lead.
Sun, surf and sizzling excitement this January at the Magic Millions Carnival on the Gold Coast. Australia's holiday playground turns it on for the world's biggest horse players as future champions go under the auctioneer's hammer. 10 days of fun and fast-paced action culminates with Australia's richest race day, featuring the Magic Millions Classic for 2-year-olds.
And Capitalist or Brian number 5 are both in the Magic Millions.
With prize money of $2 million plus a special bonus for female owners. summer on the Gold Coast. It's racing super season, the Magic Millions.
It is a fantastic period of racing. The Jeep Magic Millions on the Gold Coast, Australia's biggest race day. $10 million in prizes up for grabs. And all at stake here too in the Sydney Hobart for 2016. That is Perpetual Loyal, the leader of this race at the moment, led them out the heads for the second year in a row. And Anthony Bell and his crew have done an outstanding job on the inside. That is Wild Oats 11, and this race is on at the front. That is Bondi Beach in the background, so that's where they are at the moment. They are heading south quickly, and some of the smaller boats just making their way out of Sydney Heads at a slightly more leisurely pace, and that is, if I'm not mistaken, the beautiful Maluka of Kamandi. Sean Langham on board. Of course, he has skippered some of the Super Maxis, and now he prefers to go in this, the oldest and smallest boat in the fleet.
Maluka, her name in Aboriginal means respect and affection, and that's what we have for her, and that's what she has for the sea. For me, going to sea is a spiritual connection to what I love doing the most. And on a boat that was built well over 80 years ago, made of Huon pine, surrounded by varnished timber, really gets ingrained in your being. She's minimum length for the race. She's 9 metres overall, so basically a 30-foot long boat, but she weighs 7 tonnes, so she's a chunky little girl. Really, you can't have a bad day on Maluka. Laying in your bunk in a storm, looking around at the cedar and just taking in the creaks and groans of a properly built timber vessel is something very special. Sailing to me is the purity of wind, wave and working with the environment. She sails along and, a whale will come up and give you a wink and swim off. An albatross will hang around, but when you're just bundling through the ocean with an engine running all the time, it's like, get out of my way. It's just a totally different experience. The thing that's really interesting for me with Maluka is that she actually sailed the course 10 years before the very first race. A couple of brothers that were graziers, they weren't seamen, decided to set off Christmas Day and sail this little boat all the way to Hobart. It's more than a race. I've likened it to a climbing Everest experience. Many years ago I likened my first Hobart as being like Jason and the Argonauts, going for the Golden Fleece, because when you arrive at Tasman Island, this magnificent rock appears and you can just picture Poseidon standing up, and grabbing hold of your little ship and throwing it, and you don't get that experience in normal sailing. You only get it in this race.
Gee, Sean Langman, he really encapsulates the spirit of this race, doesn't he? So passionate about the ocean and sailing. It's great. Perpetual Loyal leads them. Wild Oats 11 in the competition as well. This has been a great start. We've got more coming up in this start of the Sydney Hobart for 2016. Australia's racing superstars will battle the world's best. Don't miss the greatest cars and stars in action. 12 hours of ultimate endurance racing on one of the world's most iconic tracks, Mount Panorama. Plus, the Top 10 Shootout Saturday live. The Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 Hours. February 5th. All the action live on 7 Mate. Oh, what a race we're seeing here. Perpetual Loyal. There's a Spinnaker. What a start for Anthony Bell and his crew. Just inside them, you'll see coming up on the left of your screen shortly, should be Wild Oats 11. There is a bit of a duel going on at the front at the moment. As we pan around, great shot of Loyal there. And there is Wild Oats 11, just a little bit closer in towards land.
These conditions will suit Wild Oats, this strong running conditions, her narrower hull, which is obvious when you see the aerial shots, will be very attuned to solid running conditions, and she's already drawn up level with Perpetual Loyal, and Beau Jest is doing very well seaward, but Scallywag paying the penalty for that very poor Spinnaker unfurl. She's dropped back somewhat, but at the moment they're neck and neck, Perpetual Loyal and Wild Oats. And here's Maluka just going round the sea mark, the brown sails there, Sean Langman's charge towards the tail of the fleet, which is to be expected as he's one of the smallest boats.
Many milestones in this race this year, and one of the legends of this race, Adrian Cahalan, is racing her 25th, the most ever by a female in this race.
Like the normal Australian schoolgirl, I was a netball or a tennis player, and I just saw all the people at the sailing club. My family didn't sail, but I saw there was a social scene. You know, I was a teenager. Sailing gives you everything. It gives you fresh air, water, sun. When I first went in 1984, there was only 6 of us. It was a husband and wife team, and so you did everything. I was up on the bow, in the pit, and steering. And it wasn't until 1992 that it was the first year I started navigating, and I've navigated every year since then. Although I'm still very much involved in keeping the boat off the rocks and telling us where we are, a large part of my job is the performance analysis, the weather forecasting. I'm pretty much the strategist on board. With all the spectator boats, it's very, very exciting. Like the helicopters are going, people are excited. I'm passionate about women in sport and women doing well and being given the opportunities. When I skippered the all-girls cruise, that was a nice feeling to be with a team of girls, making a statement, you know, because it has been traditionally male-dominated. Sailing is good in that, you know, there are a lot of mixed teams, so there's more and more opportunity. There's 4 girls on our boat this year. So as the cricketers and the footballers and hopefully the sailors, you know, start to see that the opportunities are there and create the role models for the young women coming through school and through sport, that they'll see that the world's open for them for whatever they want to do.
Adrian Cahalan, she's a legend, Pete. You crewed on Wild Oats 11 for a few Hobarts with her. She's something special, isn't she? 25th this year.
Yeah, remarkable navigator and a lovely person. She's won 6 line honours in the Hobart race, 2 overall handicap wins to her name, and she's a fantastic navigator, very cool, never gets flustered.
And on board with Ragamuffin this year, so keep an eye on them throughout this race. Don't forget the yacht tracker as well, and wherever you're travelling today, the +7 app will keep you up to date with what's happening in this fantastic 72nd Sydney Hobart. We're just zooming over Wild Oats, Perpetual Loyal leading them. We're back with more shortly.
They're coming in their thousands from across the globe. The world is coming to Australia. Gladiators, warriors, superstars. There's only one place you can see it.
7 on 7.
The world is coming to Australia. The Rugby League World Cup.
Just watch.
Coming to the screens of 7.
And the world has come to our Sydney Hobart race. 11 international yachts this year, 2 from China for the first time, and the rest from right around the world. It's a great collection here as you see them heading south now. Out of Sydney heads Perpetual Loyal was first out. And Scallywag was up there too, doing well, but got into some spinnaker trouble. They've slowed down a little bit, but unfurled it. Back on track now. But Peter Shipway, what a start for these guys. Anthony Bell on Perpetual Loyal.
Fantastic, and at the moment, as we home in on CQS, she's a little behind. She's trying to get that foil out on the leeward side of the boat. You can see it's protruding on the windward side, and to try and give her a bit of lift. She's a fair way behind, but at least she's out the heads and on her way south. But yes, Loyal, a terrific job, and you can see that she's working away a bit further to seaward than Wild Oats. They want to get off the shore pretty quickly to get the favourable southbound current, which is out on the 100 fathom line, which takes them probably about 15 to 20 miles off Jarvis Bay. So they're working to seaward, and we see Beau Jest, the most seaward of the whole fleet.
Well, Luda Ingvale, great to see him back in the race, one of the legends of this race over the years, and he's back with this crew on CQS.
The origin of the boat is the Nicorette number 6, which we won the Sydney Hobart with in 2004. She was designed more or less the same era as Wild Oats and Alfa Romeo. Now we've done our upgrade, and with that we just gone for a totally different type of technology. The thing that makes it most unique is the fact that she's got, call it a tripod setup. She's got the keel that swings up to windward, and we have redone the keel in a way by which it creates lift. And then on the leeward side, we can send out, by pressing a button hydraulically, we can send out a wing, which is very much like an aircraft wing. And that one has flaps at the back. So just like an aircraft, when you come into land, you can increase the lift, you also increase drag. And the reason is we really don't know what is the optimal setting, so we made something that has variable setting. If you want to fly, you want to be light. And so by spreading out the base that holds up the mast, we have made a much lighter mast. And that was part 2 of the consequence of doing this. Because we are creating a boat that lifts out of water, and particularly the front of the boat lifts out of water, therefore we've been looking at the bow differently. We said, okay, when a normal bow hits the airflow would be pressed downwards. But we actually want to get the airflow into the sail. As we get spray over the deck from the bow, we can actually see the spray, rather than coming backwards in our faces, the spray actually goes across very quickly and in towards the leeward side. And the last thing you would see when you look at it is that we got massive wings at the back of the boat. The reason we have those wings is that when we did air tunnel testing in New Zealand for how the sails should be sheeted, we found that the wider the base that we were sheeting the back of the sail from, the clue, the wider the base, the faster the boat was going. It's 738 square meters, and we needed to open up that sail a little bit. So those are the main concepts that make this boat. There's logic to everything we've done.
Luda Ingvale, revolutionary design, quite radical. We'll see how it goes in this race. And they're very realistic about it too. He says the number 1 aim is to finish this race and learn a bit about the boat. If they manage to put the pressure on the other 3 Super Maxis, that'd be great. Perpetual Loyal, I should say, in front of you there. Beau Jest in the background. They've had a great start as well. We're going to take a break. More after this. That's a beautiful view of our leading group down in the front of your screen here. That is the beautiful Beau Jest. Wild Oats across to the right, Scallywag behind them. And there's our leader, Perpetual Loyal, who got off to a great start. There is incredible experience in this race. Sean Langman doing his 26th, Adrian Callahan doing her 25th, and both of these have a very healthy respect for each other.
Adrian Carlin to me is, like she's one of the world's greatest sailors. For many years she was the fastest woman around the world.
I've got enormous respect for Sean. He's an incredible seafarer. He's on a 28-footer, one of the hardest boats in the fleet to sail down to Hobart without any type of electric winches or creature comforts, and he loves it.
Adrian, like me, are really creatures of the harbour. We were very happy when we were very small to just get a bed sheet and strap it onto a boat and go sailing.
Well, there's a saying you see in this race that you don't ever sail on a boat that's the size is less than your age. So I'm okay, I'm on a 52-footer. But Sean's going on a 28-footer.
Yeah, never go on a boat that's less than your age. Well, I've got a bit on then, don't I?
Two legends of this race, Sean Langman and Adrian Cahalan. Great to have them out there. There's Ragamuffin now, and that's Adrian on board doing her thing that she's done so many times in this race, making it to 25th. Don't forget, Yacht Tracker is up and running now, so I know that a lot of us spend the next couple of days glued to that screen and watching Yacht Tracker, Pete. It's a great way to keep in touch with what's happening.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. Updated every 10 minutes, so you really get live action as we see the three leading boats powering south. The breeze is freshening somewhat. You can see more and more white caps on the ocean now, and this will be suiting Loyal. She's not a slouch by any means in these conditions. She's heading to seaward a bit. They're trying to get out into that current to help them get south, and she's powering along at 20+ knots and still holding a very nice lead over Wild Oats, Beau Jest and Scallywag.
It's been an amazing start, certainly one to remember. Tight racing in Sydney Harbour, and they came out from the heads. It was Perpetual Loyal that came out in that short distance since the start. That's how far the fleet's come. 88 yachts now battling their way as hard as they can towards Hobart. There's talk of a race record. That is still a possibility. We'll keep you up to date with that, of course, over the next couple of days. But Wild Oats 11 now sitting somewhere in the group that is between second and fourth place. Hard to separate them precisely at the moment. The only thing we do know accurately about placing is that Perpetual Loyal is out in front at the moment and quite comfortably, but a bit of drama there for Wild Oats, Pete, at the start.
Yes, it was terrific stuff, really. Watching it, we wouldn't want to have been on the boat. It was high-octane stuff from Mark Richards. He got pinned on that wrong side. He had to duck a lot of boats, but he did a terrific job, as I said earlier, to get out of it. But Loyal, full marks to Anthony Bell and his crew. They're in the lead. They were first out Sydney Heads. That's a great honour for them, and they're doing a good job as they power south. They're down now off Botany Bay, so really making good time. If the forecast holds, they could be certainly on record pace and to break Wild Oats' record of 1 day and 23 hours. But fair sailing so far.
See, they look good, don't they? Well, it has been another fantastic start to this iconic race. We hope you've enjoyed it on the channels of 7. Peter Shipway, thanks for your experience and your great help once again. From all of us here on the Sydney Hobart team, thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of the race on Yacht Tracker. We'll see you back for the start next year.